Look, I'll say this for Trump. He's got this idea that America is still the biggest swinging dick in the world, and we have not used our power as much as we should. That's what the tariffs are about. We have the power to change these people's, other nations' trading practices with us, some of which were out of line. I'm surprised that people went along with it as much as they did. So he wasn't completely wrong about that. He said, look, NATO hasn't been paying their fair share. I'm going to make them do that. He wasn't wrong about that. And I'll tell you this, one thing about him that I know, I'm not going to tell you how I know, but a lot of people have seen the same thing. He really does hate war. Right. He really does not like it when people die in war. There's 4 different wars.
He's not wrong. So here's a guy who's built his career ripping into Trump. And now he's saying out loud Trump wasn't wrong. Lately, he's been saying it a lot. He admitted he was wrong about the tariffs. He's admitted Trump wasn't off base on NATO. He's even said out loud that Trump doesn't like war. That's not nothing. That's one of Trump's loudest critics, being forced to acknowledge reality. And the Democrats are pissed that someone on their team is actually looking at reality rather than living in the Trump derangement ward with them. And the reason Maher has to say it is because it's actually true. He apparently cares more about the truth than the Democrats' fake storytelling. So let's start with the tariffs. Back in January, Trump put a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum, and some went all the way up to 50%. Democrats, the media, the whole chorus said the same thing. This is reckless. This is going to tank the economy. Here comes a depression. Maher even joined in mocking it. But then a few weeks ago on his podcast, he said, I was wrong. The stock market's at record highs. I don't see a country in depression at all. That's a direct quote. It's not Fox News. That's Bill Maher admitting the facts. Now, look at NATO. Remember the narrative? Biden said Trump weakened NATO more than any president in history. Pelosi said he was a gift to Putin. Obama said the alliance had never been stronger and mocked Trump's pressure. Well, this June, here in 2025, NATO members agreed to a historic target, 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. That's more than double the old 2%. And they could never even meet that before. Germany's reindustrializing its military industry. Poland's already spending nearly 5%. Denmark's above 3%. And the EU rolled out an 800 billion euro rearmament plan with new factories, new production, and joint procurement. That doesn't look like NATO dying. That looks like NATO finally becoming what Trump was pushing for all along. And war? Let's talk about that. This is where Democrats' predictions aged the worst. Hillary Clinton said Trump couldn't be trusted with the nuclear codes. So dumb. Biden called him the most dangerous man alive. The media compared him to Hitler and said he'd start World War III. But here's reality. This year, Trump has worked to end 7 wars. India and Pakistan. Tensions cooled after Trump got involved. Iran and Israel. Ceasefire began June 24th with Qatar mediating. Yemen. After U.S. strikes in the spring, Oman helped broker a ceasefire with the Houthis on May 6th. In June, He hosted leaders from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda in the Oval Office, and they agreed to end decades of conflict. Add in Armenia and Azerbaijan, Cambodia and Thailand, and a couple other flashpoints, and that's 7 conflicts. That's the opposite of the Hitler narrative. The man they swore would spark World War III has been mediating ceasefires. And then there's trade. This is where things get even more obvious. Democrats mocked the tariffs, said they'd lead to disaster, that America would lose. But look at what's happened this year. With the European Union, Trump threatened 30% tariffs. They negotiated a deal where Europe agreed to a 15% baseline tariff on goods. In exchange, they committed to $600 billion in U.S. investments and buying $750 billion in American energy products by 2028. They also agreed to buy more U.S. military equipment and reduce barriers on farm goods and AI tech. That's not just a deal, that's a $1 trillion shift. With Japan, tariffs on autos dropped to 15%, but in exchange, Japan is investing $550 billion in the US. And Trump bragged about 90% of those profits stay here. Even Toyota and Honda stocks surged after that announcement. With South Korea, same pattern. Tariffs settled at 15%. Basol committed to $350 billion in U.S. investments and another $100 billion in American energy purchases. That's 3 massive trade wins, all in the span of months. Can you imagine what's going to be done by the end of the year? The formula is the same. Threaten tariffs, bring them to the table for negotiation, walk away with hundreds of billions flowing into the U.S. These are deals that critics said were impossible. They said tariffs would isolate us. Instead, they've delivered trillions in trade and investment. So let's zoom out. Bill Maher admits he was wrong about tariffs. NATO is spending more than ever when Democrats swore Trump would destroy it. Trump has been working peace deals instead of starting wars. And on top of that, America's pulling a massive trade win with Europe, Japan, South Korea, all unlocked by tariff leverage. That's the irony, guys. The guy Democrats compared to Hitler, the reckless dictator who was supposed to end democracy, turns out to be the one forcing NATO to carry its weight, reshaping global trade to America's advantage, and mediating conflicts instead of starting them. You don't have to love him, but the facts since January speak for themselves. And even his harshest critic, like Bill Maher, can't ignore it anymore.